Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Curious Competitor Podcast. I'm your host today, current New Jersey Devils defenseman, Connor Carrick. I guess somewhere between New Jersey, Binghamton, and Taxi Squad. It's not totally relevant. I think if you're a fan of this podcast, where I'm exactly playing, I don't know, maybe it's the reason you started listening to this podcast, but I hope the reason you continue to week in, week out is because of the content and some of the information with our incredible guests. One of my best friends is on the podcast today. One of the influences really behind this podcast, someone that's believed in me from our time together as teammates with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and really a model in terms of professionalism. He's just a well-rounded person. He's beyond likable. He's probably the best looking guy I've ever played with. Matt Martin. He is best known as a fourth line sort of tough guy, but if you blink and don't pay attention to the stats, he's got over 700 games playing with another 4-year ticket signed with the New York Islanders. He's got a strong possibility to play over 1,000 games. So we talk about a lot of change and turnover in the depths of NHL lineups, how Matt Martin's been able to stay here and stay where he's been able to be for so long in his career. And from wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us. Let's do this. Matt Martin, what's good, dog? Welcome to the Curious Competitor Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for finally having me. It's been a while.
I wanted to make sure you'd say yes. That's why I made sure I waited to ask you, because sometimes you can kind of create that tension if you just wait it out a little bit. But I'm excited to have you on. I was telling you off the air that you're someone that every single member of my friends and family, I don't know whether it's because of how good looking you are or how hard you play the game, there's this like endearment with Matt Martin that everyone asks how you were as a teammate. And I love this. I just thought of it. I meant to write it down. When we were in Toronto, we had just lost to Washington at home. And my brother, for whatever reason, my brother Blake was coming to visit. And still, it's to this day one of our, more humorous or more memorable memories together where because we exited, he was just he was old enough. He was going to go out with us in Toronto. And so it's like all the Toronto Maple Leafs, star-studded team, in the biggest market, in North America for hockey. And, my brother's out at this bar with us, and like you and Brian Boyle, two mountains of men are just building up my younger brother, telling him how good looking he is, how fucking cool he is. And my brother's got this like real boyish grin going all night, and he was just floating for days. And I remember thinking, because Blake was kind of nervous. He's like, I don't know if I really want to go out with you guys. Like, it's your team event. You guys just lost. You went through a long season together. And I'm like, no, man, come on. Like, it's a good group. They'll love you. And you made them feel so welcome. And it sounds like something small, but you've always had a knack for, I don't know, man. You're just a nice fucking guy. I don't know how else to put it.
Well, I think
you're a phony on the ice. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, I think first of all, Blake, he's basically a Jonas brother when this guy walks in a room.
He's good look. Between him and you and the Brad Pitt lookalike,
he's got the whole thing going on. So I can appreciate his style and his swag. But in terms of just trying to be good teammate, good person, good. I remember when I came in the league and the first training camp, how nervous I was. I had guys like Doug Waite making me comfortable, Bill Guerin making me comfortable. I remember the first time I was called up to play my first game. I went to dinner with a few of the guys, and we went to Capitol Grill, not far from the arena, and Kyle Okposo picked up the tab for me for dinner. And these are things that you just remember, that guys take care of you. And I think that kind of set the stage for me to be like, I want to be that way when, if and when I'm established and I'm a regular. And those little things, like you said, little things and really go a long way, and making guys feel comfortable. And then, your teammates' family is basically your family. Your locker room is as important as anything. And when people have family and friends in town, I think it's important to make people feel welcome. And make sure they have a great time because, it should be an experience. And the father's trips and all these things, everybody should have a good time. They should enjoy, one, watching their kids or their siblings play, and two, they should be able to have memories from meeting some of the guys. And like I said, I just think that's some of the most important stuff, and that's the stuff people remember.
Well, I guess I want to thank you for that because, we were playing together in Toronto, which, was had some ups and downs in your career. I know it did in mine. You had this awesome, you're always professional. Like there was, Lou Lamoriello used to have this saying about being like a duck, right? Like above water, cool, calm, collected, below water, paddling like a bastard to stay afloat. And that was a little bit of what we were going through. And you had a knack for maintaining this relationship with having fun at the rink while dialing it in. This professionalism. You'll be yakking it up with a guy after the whistle and then telling him if he runs your teammate like that again, you're going to remove his teeth the next shift. And is that just a part of your personality? Was that something with the way you were raised, or was it really just the veterans, like you said when you were younger in your career, that taught you this way?
Well, I think one, I'm a little bit of a blend of my mom and dad. My dad's the, kick people teeth in type, and my mom's talk to anybody type. So I think I'm the perfect mix of them. But no, more than anything, you go out there, you one, as a teammate, you want to enjoy your job. You understand that not every day in the NHL is roses. We're very blessed and privileged to do what we do for a living, but we still have our challenges and our bad days and our struggles, just like anybody else. So you want to bring a sense of joy to the room as much as possible. It doesn't matter if you're on a bad team or if you're on a good team. Some days you wake up and things aren't going well for the group or whatever, and you just got to come in and try to keep that positivity and keep that energy, because an 82 game schedule at some point in time is going to be grueling and exhausting, and like I said, going to have that adversity that you're going to have to deal with. And I think you learn these things as you continue on your NHL jersey. I think I used to carry good games and bad games, the highs and lows a little more when I was younger. Now you just try to, keep it even keeled and, take the good with the bad and understand that it's the body of work over the course of 82 games, or in this case, this season, 56 games, and roll with the punches and, enjoy it as much as possible. Yeah.
I remember when I was in Washington after my first year of training. Lexi had a job, so we decided to stay in DC most of the summer, and John Carlson stayed around a bunch, Troy Brower. I was always kind of their tag-along fourth at these fancy golf clubs that they would get invited to, and I just felt like the cat's meow. I couldn't wait. And I'll never forget, Braden Holtby was training, and as a kid, like going to the gym, and I was still a kid. I was 19, turning 20. You kind of, you grab your coffee in the morning, you put your pump up music on the way to the rink, and you're kind of like getting in the zone, right? Like you're hyping up. Well, when you're around like NHL veterans, there's just this sort of ho hum. This is just our job. This is just what we do. And I remember we were doing, it was like a general preparation phase. So the fatigue level was pretty high in a lot of the workouts. They were like, circuit style, high heart rate, with like time rest style workouts. And Braden Holtby, I'll never forget, he had like a 20-ounce venti Starbucks coffee. And we'd be, doing squat jumps. So your heart rate was like $190. And then as soon as the set was over, he'd like go over, take a sip of his coffee like he was on a Sunday stroll. And I was just like, this isn't like some big thing he has to get up for. Like he just does it. And it wasn't to say he wasn't engaged. Like he was working like a dog, in the set. But I just remembered like this very clear distinction, like, oh, this is really just no big deal for these guys. And like, I got to get to that point.
Yeah, that's, I have a similar story. It was first playoff series, first time the Islanders made the playoffs. It was in the shortened season. We were playing the Pittsburgh Penguins, who, just, I don't know if they won the year before, but they had recently won the cup, and we're a young team and we're hungry for the playoffs. And we come out first game and get whacked because we are so pumped. You're running around, you're trying to crush guys, you're trying to. I don't remember the score of the game, but it was like 4 or 5-0 early, and the game was over. And you look back at it, and you're like, this is the same game that we played. We played this team all year. We know how to beat this team. We at least know how to be competitive against this team. We hyped ourselves out of this contest. So the emotion in the building's more, right? The crowd's engaged more. Everyone's giving a little extra on the back check. Everybody's laying their body out, blocking shots. Everybody's finishing their check. But at the same time, the game is the exact same. And you kind of learn that you have to just keep your mind and control your emotions at all times and control the energy. And we understand what we got to do on the ice, and we understand what we got to do in life. And once again, it's about controlling the highs and lows and the emotions of it all, because if you let that get out of control, a veteran team like the Penguins is going to take advantage of you and take advantage of you quickly, which they did in game 1.
Yeah, you'll come flying 3 deep on the forecheck. They'll high flip it for a 2-on-1. Bang, it's in your net, and you're trying to, come down from the Red Bull you had before the shift, and they're, cleaning their they're cleaning the snow off their stick on the bench +1.
Exactly, that's the experience. As they have they had that experience in deep playoff runs that we didn't have the time. And as much as they were a great hockey team, we just in a lot of ways just we're expecting the game to be something other than it was, because all you ever hear about is playoff hockey, right? And how the intensity ramps up and everything ramps up. And at the end of the day, it's the exact same game. There's just a little bit more on the line. And as I get older, it's true. I think you just realize that the team that really keeps their composure and stays within themselves the most is going to give themselves the best chance to win.
I was watching, and we're bouncing around a little bit. We'll get back to the beginning of your career because I want to know more about that. But I was watching the Canada-U.S. World Junior game, which had unreal talent on both sides. Just some seriously sick players that are going to be really high-end NHLers. But the puck looked like a Super Bowl the first 8-9 minutes. And there was a kid by the name of his first name's Ian. I won't say his last name, I guess, but he just happened to reach out to me. He trains around the Chicago area, and not that I'm hockey Gandhi and have all the answers, but I'm a little bit older than him, and have some NHL games on the kid. He's at Shattuck, and he asked me, he's like, man, I'm just not necessarily performing the way I want, and I feel worked up out there. And I asked him, I said, did you watch Canada US? I was like, yeah. How nasty were those guys' hands in the round robin, and how crisp was their puck play? He's like, yeah, they were disgusting. And I said, how come in the first 9 minutes it looked like they were playing with a tennis ball? And I just said, like, your body can be nervous. That's fine. Like you'll get all the extra juice and you'll be jacked up for your hit. I was like, but your eyes and your hands they've got to come down, man. You've got to chill. And I wasn't always like this in my career, but we both played with the legend, Ron Hainsey. Ron Hainsey was classic.
He's got to be the most chill guy of all time, right? I
mean, Ron Hainsey wasn't going to win the Norris in terms of, point production, but like game 7 against Boston just scored, Leafs Boston. They dump a puck in his corner. He doesn't care. He's going to backhand middle pop it and send us in on a 3-on-2 like it's any Tuesday, like it's game 45, the regular season. And so much of that was because of how he was. And I was trying to explain that to this young player. I was like, listen, I'm not saying your warm up and all that isn't important and getting your body ready, but like mentally, you got to get to a place of composure. Ron Hainsey would hide away, in the hot tub room and read the paper for 2 hours, and then he'd go out, and play 36 minutes. And there's something to be learned from that.
Yeah, Ron's a great example, right? He's been around forever. He's made that
played forever.
He's made that backhand wall play to the middle 10,000 plus times in his career.
Yeah.
Whether it's game 7 or it's game 1 or it's a preseason game, it's still the play, and it's the right play, and it's the play to make in that moment, right? So It's once again, it's all about keeping your head. And I mean, Ron seems like he probably came in the league and was just no problem. I'll make that play all day. Some of us, it takes a little longer to learn that as well. And, you got to go through those highs and lows of emotion and, get some experience at the playoff level and in those big moments, World Juniors, all those big moments to kind of grasp that a little bit and understand that the play to be made is the play to be made regardless of the situation or the point in the season or magnitude of the game. Some guys just have that ability to block everything else out.
So take me through some of the scenarios, so you're a 5th round pick like me. I went 137. You went what? 140. I wrote it down. I forgot.
48, I think. But I was my second year of eligibility. So, I'm really a 12th rounder.
I didn't know that. I actually forgot about that. I remember you talking about it in Sarnia and how many goals you scored without Stammer or whatever. But, so young Marty, big, physical, had an ability to score in junior like every other player that gets drafted. How do you end up becoming the regular in the Islanders lineup that you've been and have re-become, now that you're back there with your second stint? Like what were some of the trampoline moments in your career? Let's say from the first 5, 10, 15 games all the way to, the playoff series you've been a part of. I remember watching a lot of the Washington Cap. I don't remember which years, but the Capitals Islanders series, those were wars. Where the fourth line, yourself, Clutterbuck, and Cizikas were, very, your fingerprints were all over those series in terms of setting the pace and the bite. Help me remember some of those big moments in your career that led to some of the growth, because you can't fake it. There's this composure, Matt Martin has after 715 games, whatever you're at now. That maybe you had some of it. It was in you before, but it's really been trained.
Yeah, so I think the biggest conversation, the most important one I ever had, was actually with my dad. So I wasn't drafted by Sarnia. I was a walk-on. And I remember going to training camp. They had just drafted Steven Stamkos first overall. I get invited to training camp, summer. I don't even know what they called it, like summer camp, mini camp, whatever it was. And we had scrimmages, we had things. I get invited back to main camp. And I remember the conversation with so when I was younger, I was a scorer, playmaking, like I wasn't physical really. I just, was the best player on my team. Like I just went out there and, tried to put the puck in the net every single shift. Like that's all I worried about, right? Which you should as a kid anyway. But I remember, my dad talking to me being like, listen, obviously you want this. You want to be an NHL or you want to, play in the OHL. At this point, you want to play in the OHL. They just drafted Steven Stamkos first overall. You're going to have to bring something to the table that they need. My dad was never one to tell me to go fight. I don't want to say he doesn't like it, but he was never like, go out there and just drop your gloves just to drop your gloves. He likes the physicality and the way I've played the game over the last 11 years. And he was just kind of like, you're going to have to bring something that they need, because they don't need you to stand on the half wall and take slap shots, because they just drafted a guy first overall that's going to do that pretty good. Right. So I came into that training camp and I was physical and I was, hitting everything. And, guys ended up coming after me to fight because I was running around the whole camp. And I was able to make the team that way, and didn't play much my first year. And then one of my teammates, actually my second season, one of my teammates took like a 10-game suspension to start the year because he came off the bench, got into a fight, and
it's old school OHL.
Yeah, not that he was in the wrong to come out. I think all hell broke loose and he came off the bench to protect somebody or whatever. But he got suspended for 10 games, which gave me the opportunity to move up. So I played net front on the power play to start the season, scored 2 goals my first game, and then it just kind of took off from there, and kind of had my spot in the lineup as a regular from there, and eventually played with Stamkos, at least the second half of the season. I don't remember exactly when, but finished the year on his line. We won a playoff series, and it was a pretty big year, pretty big moment for me. And then Stammer went to the NHL. I came back to Sarnia, became captain, had another big year. That was the story. That second year was the year I got drafted by the Islanders, along with two of my other teammates, Mark Carrick and Justin DiBenedetto. It was a pretty special year. And then from there, I just kind of established myself as that, power forward type player, willing to fight, willing to stick up for my teammates, playing that grinding game. When I came to the NHL, you got to adapt, right? You want to be a regular in this league, you got to be able to fill in roles once again. So in junior, I scored 35 goals and had 150 penalty minutes. First line power play, stay out there for 2 minutes, did whatever I wanted, right? Yeah. And then to become a regular in the NHL, it's like, this is what we need. This is what we need on our team. We need bottom six depth players, guys who can do it regularly, be physical, stick up for teammates. That time I was fighting 15 times a year. It's obviously the game's changed a lot since when I started, but the biggest turning point I think in my career and was when Clutter got traded here, and me and Casey were playing together for a while, but we just instantly had a click once they put the three of us together. And since then, it's kind of other than my stint in Toronto, those have been my line mates for, I don't know, the last 7 years. So we got good familiarity with each other. We all want to play the game the same way. We're not necessarily concerned about, scoring every game. We have a great role, especially with Trotzy here. The way he uses us, we can go out there and do our job effectively. And, it's been great and a lot of fun, and just hoping to keep it going.
When you said something there, obviously the game's changed. And if you want to play as long as you have, the only thing that you can know for certain about the game is that it will change, right? Like the game is so different than it was when I came in the league, even more so than when you came in the league. What are some particular skill set items that you've been able to add over the years on purpose, like things that you have really worked on to continue to evolve from? Because you couldn't just be this power forward, hit guys, fight guys. That used to justify a role. This is all this guy does. But now with analytics and it's such a possession game, like you, Clutter, and Cizikas, me and Clutter on a nickname basis now that we both experienced your wedding together. You guys are able to maintain zone time. You guys are able to stay in the offensive zone. We're going to create a cycle, create all these offensive opportunities still, despite, all of you kind of coming from, let's say, nastier backgrounds, younger in your career. Are there any particular skill set items that you've, consciously gone and worked on? Whether it could be, net front technique, let's call it wall play. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm trying to lead you down the road I think you're going to go. I've seen it.
I think the biggest one is, I've always worked on my skating. And, to start my career, I was 205 pounds and I worked my way up to 225 pounds because everyone was big and strong and bigger than me and wanted to fight me and felt like you needed to get bigger. And then as soon as I hit that 223 pound mark, it just went smaller in a heartbeat and I had to work my way back down. And now I'm lighter than I was. I feel a lot better in terms of the way the game's played now. You have to be able to move basically your entire shift. There's no hooking and holding and grabbing, and you got to move your feet and you got to be able to get on top of people. And but I think the biggest thing, other than the typical, I work on my skating, I work on my shooting, is wall plays. I think that is such a pivotal, important part of the game as a winger, to be able to make tight area plays, make plays in the middle, make sure you get pucks out when there's nothing available, getting into the defensemen so they can't jump by you. I spent, along with my teammates, we spent a lot of time working on that stuff on the daily. And it seems so small, but that creates not only scoring chances, but I work with Adam Oates, who
Yep.
puts a lot of this stuff together for me, and he's like, the amount of plays that you make now on the wall is really, really impressive, and you get a sense of composure, you get a sense of calmness. It's like we're talking about Haynes. He goes back for a puck, and it's, hey, this one's to the middle. You start to feel, because you do this so often in practice and in games, you start to feel what's going to be open, and you kind of go through your options, and you make the play that's available. And we still mess up, obviously. There's other guys out there trying pretty hard too. But the more comfortable you get in those tight area situations on the ice, the better you're going to look, and the better you're going to play, and the more time you're going to spend with the puck.
Well, and so much of it is when you are in the bottom six, let's say a third pair D-man role, a big part of your job some nights is also just making sure nothing bad happens. And
Absolutely.
If your wall play is good, like, they're not going to play in your end. If you've got your one touch and you make it, you execute, it might not lead to a 2-on-1 every time, but at a bare minimum, like Barry Trotz is putting on the ice, Marty, I need to know your line. Nothing bad's going to happen. I need to, the word I'm getting at is trust. NHL coaches have a hard job. They're trying to win in a tight league. It's brutal to win every night. There's no easy games, and they need players that they can trust. And, you've been that, for the Islanders for, over a decade now.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing is it's, once again, about playing a role, right? Everybody's got their role. Some guys go out there every night and, play on the power play and are paid to put the puck in the net regularly. And that's a lot of pressure. Like,
I remember one of the first, because I thought I was this, right? And just to give some context, we used his name earlier, Ron Hainsey, and I don't know if he's comfortable with me sharing with this because he's a pretty private guy, but hopefully he doesn't come after me. He told me about this cool story where I think it was Hitchcock he played for earlier in his career, and just told him, like, Ron, you're a first round pick. You can be a really elite offensive D-man at the American League level, or you can really learn to defend and play forever because, you're big, you're long, you've got great reach, you skate great, and you do have all those offensive plays to break out. It's up to you. And I remember having a similar moment. I'm in a tough spot in my career, ice time wise and things like that. It's no secret. And I'm doing the same reflection where I remember earlier in my career, I was an offensive guy. I'd be in the minors. It'd be me against, Shane Gostisbehere, and he's been able to go up and play with Philly, who had a hole on the power play quarterback, side. I was in Washington's system where they had John Carlson and Mike Green, so we had a little bit different of a path. And I remember, like, sort of a second strike against, Connor, you might have to do more to continue to stay in this league, was when I played with Matthews. I was like, I thought I was an offensive player. I thought I was a power play guy. I thought I could do what, Chris Letang could do. And then I'm watching this guy. I'm like, oh my, this is the quality of player that the NHL power players are going to revolve around. You see with Matt Barzal, like, these guys this next generation is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, they got all the talent in the world, right? And these are things they've worked on, but it's just, and everybody wants to score, Yeah. Like, there's no question. Everybody wants to go out there and score, but not everybody goes out there on the power play. So you got to be able to do something that your team needs to be able to trust you to do. And you need to go out there regularly and be reliable, right? So I remember when we played Pittsburgh 2 years. Yeah, not the bubble season, the one before. So,
yep.
However long ago that was.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yeah. We played Pittsburgh in the first round. We won the series. As a line, we finished -2 with 0 points. But we were matched up against Crosby's line for pretty well the entire series.
Yeah.
So we're in there after hey, great series, Yeah. Like,
you won the series, period. Held them off the score sheet.
Yeah, like, we're not concerned. And either, in fairness, was our coaching staff about, our statistics in that series, because we went out there, we did a good job. We contained their top guy or top guys. And at the end of the day, we won the series. So there's guys that, get paid to produce regularly, which is not an easy job. absolutely not the easiest job in the world to be relied upon to score every night. They get paid accordingly, obviously, but and then there's guys that got to go out there and shut other teams down, play that aggressive game. For you, break pucks out, make that first pass. Might not relate to 30, 40-point seasons, but they're trusting you to do that regularly, and being adaptable and being able to adjust your style of game is really important, because I've seen guys who they were better offensive players than me. Definitely off better that I play with in the NHL that couldn't play a bottom six role in the NHL. And they weren't quite, top six in the NHL.
It's tough. It's brutally difficult.
I mean, you've seen guys
to be top six in the NHL.
That's just, they get stuck where they don't want to change their game. They don't want to adapt. They want to be this, whatever. But there's only so much room for that. And you need a blend of everything throughout your lineup. So at least I believe that to win in this league. And I mean, you see it every year. Teams that win usually have a pretty good blend throughout their lineup of style of play, and have lines that can shut down, have lines that can produce offensively, and really be able to adjust to any sort of game that they need to play, especially come playoff time.
So I was around Barry Trotz a little bit with Washington. I think I played like 3 games for him, was called up for probably a month over the course of 2 years. But, we had training camps, and I was always extremely impressed with his professionalism, the level of detail, the way his practices were structured, and how they carried over into game concepts. He had this great pulse on, he didn't baby pros. Certain coaches, are kind of nervous of practice, right? Just because the NHL schedule's as brutal as it is, and it is a league where you're really leaning on your top guys to play heavy minutes. But he kind of still demanded a lot in practice. Like, he's had success with Nashville, similar teams, maybe the Islanders, grinding type teams, very type checking. Changed a little bit when he went to Washington, brought in, some of that tightness defensively, but the Washington Capitals are built how they are. It's going to be a little bit more of an open game. They have some superstar talent that not every team has, but in your eyes, what makes him such a good coach? Because you've spent a lot more time with them. I've always spoken highly about him to people that have asked me, but I kind of didn't get the full experience that you've had.
Yeah, I think one, he's accountable, and when he says he's going to hold you accountable, it's everybody's held accountable. It's not like, oh, you can't do this, but you can. And, you don't do it the right way, you're not going to play at the end.
You're going to hear about it. Yeah.
And, you've obviously been with Lou.
Similar.
I think they're similar people. But I'll remember when I first got traded back to the Islanders, I had a call with Trotzy, and he told me, listen, you're going to be with Casey and Clutter. I want to reunite that line. This is your role. This is what you need. Like, I need you to do. Just fighting isn't a role anymore. This is what I need. So I went into that off season knowing, like, this is how I'm going to be used. This is what, I got to work on. This is how I got to be effective. Because at this point, I mean, I was healthy scratched, I don't know, close to half the season in Toronto the year before. No, this is time to this is probably my shot to get my career back on track, because
these make or break moments don't last long.
I'm 29, 29 or 30, whatever I was, 29 years old. This isn't the beginning of my career. This could be the end, right? So, I put a lot of focus on, getting really good inside of that role, and obviously felt very comfortable with Casey and Clutter going back into that. I don't think it could have worked out any better for me. I'm very blessed and fortunate to end up back here where I've already had success with the 2 guys I had success with. Can't say that happens often. So that's pretty lucky and fortunate. But just put a lot of emphasis on playing the right way or the way that Trotzy wanted us to play. And
when you say play the right way, like I have certain sort of words and phrases I'll use to myself that kind of remind me of, okay, this is when Connor Carrick's at his best. These are the things he's doing. Like, do you have any particular? Wayne Simmons had a great one. I was on Twitter and I saw it. I hope it's true. Saw it on Twitter. I saw it on the internet. It's got to be true. He said his whole game plan was initiate, never retaliate. Yeah. Be the one to go first. And I was like, that explains Simmer. He wants to set the tone first. He wants to throw the first punch. He wants to hit first. He's not going to wait around and see how the game goes and toe dip and see what he can bring. Are there any sort of words, and certain guys write it on their stick, other guys just kind of say it to themselves. Are there any key feelings or words that you want to bring to the NHL night in, night out?
Oh, really? I would say that similar to what Similar said, we want to initiate. We want to bring the energy and we want to set the tone every single night. And Trotzy uses us in that role. We start a lot of games and he relies on us to go. There's a huge sense of disappointment when we start a game and get scored on, like first minute, right? Because it's like, not every team starts their fourth line, right? Yeah. Most teams start their big dogs and he trusts us to go out there and get the job done, right? And play in their end for a minute and then get off and like the boys are rolling and like everyone feels good. And so when we get scored on first shift, it's like you almost don't even want to look at him at the bench, right? Because
has he ever pulled you aside and smacked you around for that? Like what would he say?
No, he never does, but it's just not a good feeling, right? Because the coach has put a lot of trust in you to get the game going, and it's just not a good feeling. But the one thing I would say Trotzy and the staff's brought to us more than anything is, and this probably is because of his experience and his pedigree, is the composure. I had, we were a young team when I first was with the Islanders, and we would yell and scream at the refs, slam the gate when you had a bad shift or got scored on, F-bombs flying everywhere, swearing, crazy amounts of emotion, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like, if you yell at the ref, he'll tell you to shut the hell up. If you slam the gate, like you don't do it. You just keep your head on your shoulders. The game's 60 minutes long, maybe 65 minutes long. You stay the course. You go out there and you play the right way. And when I say the right way, you play detailed hockey to our system, to our structure, the way we're supposed to go out there and play. And you stay the course every single night. And you don't, start swearing at each other, swearing at the refs, slamming gates, slamming everything, because it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you win.
It's not competitive. That's not intensity.
No, a lot of times it's right. Like when you look back at that stuff, it's almost a little showy, right? Like you're trying to like show that you're more pissed off than maybe you are. And now we've just got this sense of like, I don't know. You go into games very confident, whether you're winning or you're losing. Go down 1-0 early. If we get to our game and we play the way we're capable of, we have a chance to win every single night. And that's the mindset now. And that's like, it's not about like getting frustrated, and it's not about, because it's not going to be perfect every night. And there's pretty good players on the other side too that are going to have pushes.
Yeah.
And you just go out there and you do it your best of your ability. If you go out there and give it your all and play to the best of your ability, he'll live with the result. It's when you go out there and try to do it your own way or whatever, then you're going to hear about it.
In terms of, with you, Casey and Clutter, you guys have played together a long time, and I'm sure anytime a line sticks together for that amount of time, you're going to be dragged through the mud and the highs and lows of each other's game, right? What does accountability look like on that line? Have you guys ever had, FU matches? What hard conversations have you guys had over the course of the years?
Yeah, there's definitely some. Like, amongst each other, there's a little bit of that, but we're the closest of friends at the same time. So it's like you fighting with your brothers, or me fighting with my brother. Like, it's just, we've definitely had our moments, and half the time, we're kidding too. Casey's mad that he, has lost 3 faceoffs in a row. He comes to the bench shaking his head, switching sticks, breaking sticks, and he's like, Z, you've never been that good at draws, bro. Don't worry about it.
Shake it. We'll get the puck back.
Like,
listen, it's more work for me, but I don't mind.
Yeah, like there's a lot of that, and they're both prideful guys. I'm a prideful guy, and we want to go out there and do our job effectively and the way that we're expected to every night. And I'll say it again, it doesn't always happen that way. So there's definitely some moments that get a little bit like, I'm wide open, like I'm right here, like. You got to get that out. There's a little bit of that, but I would say more when we were younger.
Yeah.
Again. And now it's more like, hey, sorry, that's my bad. I messed all one up. Then you move on. I would say that we're far less emotional about every single play in a game than we used to be, for sure.
I want to go back to a little bit of that year, where you were out of the lineup quite a bit in Toronto. And how did you maintain that belief in yourself that you were going to be back? How did you, when you were in an NHL lineup again, full time, how were you able to get back to your game as quickly as you did? Was there any crisis of any sort? Was there any, personal sort of, inner conversation that you had to grind through to get through that?
Well, I would say, it was definitely hard. We were out a lot together at that time, so we had a lot of conversations. You go from being a regular for, I don't know how many games it was at that point, over 500, maybe 600 games to all of a sudden, not being in for however many straight. It was hard, but I think this is where like family's so important, right?
Yeah.
I got Sydney, I got her family, I got my family, who's been with me every single step of the way through a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows, to not making AAA hockey at all through growing up. And my dad and mom always been like, listen, if you work at this, you'll get there. It doesn't matter where you play. To not getting drafted to the OHL, to being a walk-on, to not getting drafted my first year eligibility in the NHL, to go into the Islanders, to, there's a lot throughout this career that is a roller coaster. And, without my parents and my brother and sister, who knows when, I don't want to say I give up, but who knows where I get derailed to, right? Because they're the ones that keep you, when you're a young, emotional kid, they're the ones that keep you, make you believe that this is actually doable. Yeah. Because there's definitely moments where I'm like, I'm never going to make it. Like, can't make it from A hockey. Can't make it from junior C. Can't make it from, the bleachers in Sarnia. And they're the ones that kept that belief in me. And then when I got to the NHL, I met Sydney, and then I had her family supporting me throughout as well, throughout this whole Toronto scenario. So, you never lose faith in yourself. You always, as soon as you lose faith in yourself, it's over, right? But at the same time, there's people in your life that help you maintain that confidence and that ability, because they've seen you get through stuff before.
Yeah.
Which, you don't realize, Connor, how much stuff you've overcome, right? Because
I was thinking that right when you said that.
You don't understand that, because like, you're living it. You don't, you want more for yourself. I want more for myself. Everybody wants more for themselves. So you don't think you've accomplished anything. That's why most people say they look back on their career and they realize how much they've accomplished, how great it was, because when you're living it, you're always looking for more.
Yeah.
Right. But you've overcome many hurdles in your life. And so have I, and so is everybody else in this league.
Yeah,
And
I can
that's
think
why,
of at least like 5 times, like I'm talking key moments since junior where I thought my entire career was over.
yeah, and
Like there's no way this is the circumstances are awful. I am in a tough spot, and you keep plugging.
and when you're living it too, it's hard to find the clarity, right?
Yeah,
It's
it
hard to
feels so
see it.
real. Yeah,
So like when people on the outside looking in, they can kind of be like, listen, you're okay. You know, your dad, your brothers, your mom, you know, who everyone in your life that matters, Lex, you know, they they have confidence in you too. Like they've seen you, especially your parents, from a young age, overcome every obstacle that there was to get to this level. So when you're a little unsure yourself, they're like, you've done this, you can do it, and you'll do it again. You know. And I think that's why like family is just so important, because they're really your support system, even in like a season like this year, right? Like having a kid, I mean, you just had a kid, it's the greatest thing in the world, right? Because like
I was just gonna get to that.
you start to realize like, okay, hockey is very important to us. Like it's what we bleed for, right?
Yep.
But once you have a kid, and especially in like COVID times, where if COVID came when I was 22, I would exhaust myself with the game of hockey because it's all I'd be thinking about. You know, I'd have a bad game, like you don't play again for 2 days. It'd be on my mind nonstop. And you exhaust yourself with that. And there's something like nice about like, you know, whether you win or lose the night before and like play good, something nice about like getting out the next day and getting away from the game because you have like this, in my case, I have a beautiful daughter that I get to spend time with, right?
Yeah.
And you get Charlie. And it's just like, so with the stuff, you know, the highs and lows, but mainly the lows, some of the stuff you're going through right now. And I talked to you the other day, it's like, you know, I got Charlie at home and it's great, you know? Like
it really is. And I can't, maybe it sounds a little woo, but like I was talking with a guy that I have, you know, I'm working with for, you know, in like a sports science realm. We're doing some like HRV testing a couple times a day. And he goes, you know, Connor, I don't know if you're noticing. He goes, but what your child has done for your nervous system, he goes, you look on paper like a completely different person. He's like, it's been like your recovery, like you're sleeping less. He's like, the stress of lineup decisions hasn't gone away. The stress of bag skating and working out, that's still the same. You know, it's kind of cool. You have these two worlds, right? Like your child doesn't care that you play hockey, and hockey doesn't necessarily care that you had a child. They both have their requirements. You know, you can't go up to your coach and be like, hey, coach, I'm tired today. Charlie was up quite a bit last night. I'm going to take practice off today. Like, what would Barry say to you? Like, Marty, kick rocks, man. Like, you can go play in the minors where they, you know, they only play on the weekends if you want. And it really has been so calming. And there's just not a choice, right? Like, and you experience it with Winnie, like, there's no choice. You'll do anything to make your child proud. And like, I know, like life in the NHL is so public, like everything's decently documented, right? This isn't the 70s where there's, you know, phantom third assist because there's no video and stuff like that. Like everything is documented, tweeted about, Instagrammed about. Charlie will know how I handle this. Doesn't mean I don't have hard moments, but it's just non-negotiable that I have to answer.
Yeah, I mean it's important, and I think, you know, you talked about you know, stress levels and all that stuff. I think it's so important to be able to turn off what you do for a living. And we none of us want to call hockey work because I mean that's,
yeah,
but like it's our job, you know. We love what we do, absolutely. But if you have that turned on 24 hours a day for a full season, it's going to beat you down. You got to be able to get away from it, right? Get away from the game, and spend time with your family, go to the movies, go eat dinner, like not worry about the fact that you just had a bad game. because you're always going to get an opportunity to make up for a bad game. And when you have good games, you're always going to have an opportunity to screw it up again. So that's like, once again, as the longer you hang around, it's like, yeah, this is the adversity we've gone through before. We've lost 4 straight games before. We've been through tough stretches before, and you learn how to handle them. And the less emotional you can get about these things, I think the better off you are in the big picture, because you need to be able to just worry about what's next, right?
Yeah.
Like what's in front of you, because you're not changing the fact that you were -2 the night before. You're not changing the fact that, you had 3 turnovers. Be upset about it. Look at the tape and realize, find out what you can do better. Absolutely.
Yeah, don't run from it.
But you can't run from it.
Don't bury yourself in guilt either.
No, because the next game is now the most important game, right?
This is why I've enjoyed this podcast as much as I have. Some days it takes work, but other days it's such a fuel source. And I've been thinking about this a lot. I had the CEO from TRX, that Randy Hetrick, on, who was a SEAL operative for 15 and a half years or whatever, then went to Stanford Business School. And you ask him, because as athletes, we're obsessed with the SEALs are obsessed with athletes, right? It's this love affair we have.
Yeah.
And all of us love musicians, but that's besides the point. And he's like, as SEALs, how do you get through butts? How do you do this brutal week that is going to be, it is going to be every bit as brutal as advertised. By definition, like these, sergeants are going to make it absolute hell. It is literally named Hell Week. It is a week of hell. And he's like, honestly, the key was just getting to breakfast. Like if you're just worried about getting to breakfast, and then, when you're on your run, he goes, I would just do 10-meter runs. That's all I focused on was 10 meters. And you're thinking about like how small that bite he's making. And I've thought about it quite a bit. And if you can really go through a hockey season, NHL season, one single game at a time, you can do it. I always like to tell a story of normally in an 82 game season, but after the 10 game mark, you've gone through a training camp. It's never easy, right? Training camp's always, physically demanding. And then you play your first 10 NHL games and you look around the room, like you would think to yourself, there's no way. There's no way these guys are going to play 72 more hockey games.
Yeah.
This room looks gassed. And then all of a sudden you're at the 40 mark and it's the same thing. Guys are beat up, guys are injured, broken ribs. This guy's got, a lace bite. This guy's coming back from surgery, but when you just keep it on, you've got a shot.
Absolutely. You just focus on what's next all the time, right? So you got to get your body ready for, Tuesday night or Thursday night. And then after that, you get in the cold tub, whatever, you recover, and then you got to get your body ready for Saturday night. If you start worrying about the game in 3 weeks, you're probably not going to be good in all those games in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just focus and worry about what you got to worry about. And that's really what's in front of you at all times. And I think we get stuck sometimes just, like you said, you look at the schedule, it's game 40 and you're like, man, we got 42 left here. Like they go quick too. Yeah.
They do.
Especially when it's going well. They go quick. There's so much joy in winning, right? Like, and I think that's because we all know what it feels like to lose. So like winning's great, but it's the feeling of winning. It's the win song coming on in the locker room. It's like that, like you feel that, it's an emotion that you feel like you want that all the time. It's what we do this for at the end of the day.
What's it been like being a dad to Winnie, still being a player in the league?
It's been unbelievable. Like I said, it's just, I think, it's especially in COVID times, it's given me such a nice getaway from the game in a good way. you know?
Yeah.
Like I get up in the morning and I spend my time with her, and she's happy to see you all the time, right?
Yeah.
She's got a smile on her face, like, you know, I'll hear her saying data through the nan in the morning, and it's like, I got her, you know, like it's just,
I'm in.
it's such a great thing. That everyone tells you it's a great thing. Everybody tells you, like, you know, especially they're like, having a daughter is the best. Like, it is the best. And
there's no other way to describe it. Like,
you
words,
really don't understand.
Words don't capture that energy.
Yeah,
they really fail us.
Yeah, you never understand it. You don't understand it until you live it. And yeah, we're up earlier, and we're, you know, I'm basically on her schedule 24/7, other than hockey. But it's the best, right? You wouldn't trade it. I mean,
for anything. Yeah,
it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I didn't imagine the freshness. You know, you come home and it's just, you're so refreshed, and there's such a bookmark where anything that happened prior to is irrelevant. And anything that's going to happen is also relevant. You're just like totally jacked from 2 to 3:30. I'm going to lay down on the couch and do some skin to skin and hang out, and whoever needs me, if they need me, they'll call me and get a hold of me. But I'm setting up shop here for the bit.
Yeah, you're basically checking out. You're basically shutting off the world, and you're just like, I'm focusing on winning. You're focusing on Charlie. Like, this is what I'm doing for the next hour and a half till they go nap, right? Like, it's just, when can we really say we've done that in our lives, where you turn off everything else and you just focus on that one thing? In this case, that one person.
That's it. I can't think of anything else like it. It is, you think about it from like an evolution standpoint, like the highest honor, the highest reward, carrying it on. And these women, Lexi's been an absolute warrior. Been really happy for her, proud of her. Not an easy gig being a mom.
Not an easy gig at all. It's, I mean, you know, we look at it, it's different, right? We come home and we're like, okay, this is my chance to get away from the real world.
Yeah.
And we probably get home and they look at it like, here's my chance to go see the real world. Like,
yeah. Oh, thank God. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, they put so much time in, and they always have. They support what we do in our careers and the path that we want to go on. You know, they make a lot of sacrifices, as our parents did and our families did. You know, it's not easy to be married to us, and the amount we're gone, and all the crap that they got to deal with on a daily basis.
Kidding. Yeah.
But yeah, that, I mean, the whole birth thing, it's wild, man. Wild.
Well, I felt bad I thought this was crazy. I was talking to my financial advisor, telling him about the birth story, and I'm feeling all sorry for myself. I'm like, oh man, I missed Charlie's birth. I was in Buffalo, and you know, I'm glad that Lexi went so quickly. It meant she didn't suffer, right? Because that was the other option. She could have suffered for, you know, 2 straight days and grinded through this brutal labor, and me been there the whole time, and that wouldn't have been fun either. And he's like, oh, Connor, don't worry about it. I got a player that missed all 3. Missed all 3 of, and it's just, I don't know, it's a cost to do a business in the NHL.
Yeah. Once again, it's not easy for that player to have missed it.
Yeah.
It's certainly not easy for the wife to have had to go through that without him there. And those are some, we live a good life. We live a really good life.
Yeah.
We're very privileged to live this life. But there's certainly sacrifices still made inside of this. Those are, let's put it this way. I'm very fortunate and happy to have been able to be there. Yeah. It was the coolest experience of my life. Like, I thought it was awesome. And the way she handled it, she was a champ, and just the whole thing was like so mind blowing, you know?
I do.
It's incredible. Really.
It is, man. It is. I think that's a good place to wrap up, Marty. I appreciate you coming on, man, and all your support always. You were a great mentor for me, and you know, I want to tell you that, I know you made a conscious decision to want to treat young guys good, based on the way that you came in the league, and you really remembered things like that. And, the effect you've had on me and my leadership in the locker room, and the way I've, really, I don't know. I always thought, like, two compliments in particular that always felt cheap up until, really meeting someone like yourself was, oh, that guy works hard. I was like, oh, that's just something they say about guys that aren't talented. Which is partly true.
Well,
but
I've heard that one a lot in my career too.
Yeah, he works hard. That's because he's not talented. But you really do take it to heart that you want to be someone that that's remembered as a teammate that gave it their all and being a great teammate. It was something that, you lived it every day, and I got to see it. And now I get to practice it in your honor, even though we're not playing together. So I appreciate it. I've always thought you're the fucking man. And thanks for coming on, bro.
Thanks for having me, Big Dog.
Anytime.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon, buddy.